Hi, this is Ralph Zuranski. I'm with Alan Bechtold. He's been a mail-order marketer and a publisher for more than 30 years. During that time, he's created and published numerous successful magazines, newspapers, and newsletters, including successful trade journals for online marketers. He's also acted as a consultant for thousands of information and website marketers. Alan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ralph. How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm very grateful for you to agree to do the Heroes interviews. I know I met you first down at Bob Silver's seminar down in Florida a couple of years ago and was impressed with just your dedication and just the marketing program that you had.
I'm thrilled you were and honored. Bob is a gem of a human being, and it was wonderful being there, and you were one of the wonderful things that happened to me while I was there.
Well, I did get some good shots of you, and people can see that at seminarislandphotos.com because you did a great presentation. And I wanted to ask you a couple questions. What is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
I think they are imperatives, not just rules that you can decide to follow or not. I like to view them as the highway you travel to reach a fulfilling life. That includes not only health and wealth, but happiness. And I mean true happiness. Without goodness, ethics, and moral behavior, there's all kinds of things you can achieve and get, but you won't ever achieve true happiness. And without that, the others are worthless.
Well, that's true, isn't it?
It is.
One of the big questions that we have as far as the idea of identifying who are the real heroes today, there's the firemen, the policemen, the military people that are getting paid to put their lives on the line, and of course they're all heroes because when they do go in there they know that might be their last day. And my question is there any other type of heroism where people on a daily basis do the right thing and just help others without any recognition but know that it's the right thing to do? What principles are you willing to sacrifice your life for?
Freedom, number one. So you know how I feel about the soldiers fighting. Yeah. Especially of the press, but also speech, religion, and political thinking. I don't care if I disagree with you. I always agree you have the right to be you, and those things are what make you you. So, of course, I would be willing to sacrifice my life for that right, to protect that. But I also think protection of weaker individuals over stronger, especially, situations like the struggles of the oppressed against tyrannical leaders, that sort of thing. These are the things you have to be willing to lay down your life for.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And in the struggles that we have in our lives to do the right thing, a lot of times we have high points and low points in our lives. What was the lowest point in your life, and how did you change your life path to win a victory over those obstacles?
I'll tell you, when I was publishing one of my trade journals that was just really taking off for the dial-up bulletin board operators that predate the Internet today, that industry was growing and burgeoning, and I was the only publisher of the leading trade journal for system operators of those systems right when the Internet smacked me in the face. And all of my advertisers suddenly, none of them called and canceled their ads, they just quit paying the bill.
Really?
So several months into that, I was faced with folding that business, $40,000 in personal debt, having to completely change direction, and with no resources to do it other than, and this is how I changed my path, other than my friends and one of my own personal heroes who wishes to remain unnamed. But this person, when I called, asked why I was feeling so down. I didn't bring it up. Asked why I was feeling so down, and I told him the whole story. And the first words out of his mouth were, "How much would help you out right now?"
Wow.
And that's not the kind of question you get from someone who's not a true friend you can turn to.
Boy, that's the truth.
And it just completely changed my attitude about life. It was as if, and when I told him how much I really needed, I tried to play it way down. Believe it or not, I said, "Oh, I think 5,000 would do it." And he goes, "Well, then you need 15."
That's a rare friend.
I'm telling you. And you know what? In 5 days, it was in the mail.
That's amazing.
And he was like, just you know what, you've helped me before, you'll help me again, we'll find ways for you to work it off, don't even worry about paying it back.
Gee, that's incredible. That's a true friend.
It is a true friend, and we are still true friends to this day, and I'm happy to say I've been able to pay that back 2 or 3 times in other ways, you know?
Yeah, boy, that's a real hero.
It's one. Yeah, he is one of my heroes, and that's why I rank friends among heroes. True friends.
Mm-hmm. You know, when you're down, that's how you can really tell who are the real heroes in your life, or the people that stick with you when things are going wrong.
Hey, when things are going great, you got no shortage of quote-unquote friends.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've had some ups and downs in your life. How important was it to have a dream or a vision that sets the course of your life?
Well, I got to tell you, and this is another thing that changed after that point, but my entire life is built upon strong visualization. I don't even call them dreams anymore or visions.
Mm-hmm.
I visualize strong visualizations of where I want to be in the future, and then I visualize going backward, building the steps to getting there.
Wow.
And it becomes almost a natural result. It seems like I set up the universe to start lining these things up.
Mm-hmm.
For example, right now, I'm currently shooting to generate more than $1 million in sales in one day.
Wow.
And I've already set that as a goal.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of this year, I intend to generate $1 million in profit for my company.
Boy, that'd be great.
And next year, $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
And they're goals and milestones, but I know I'm going to hit them. Notice I'm not telling you that I hope to hit it.
Yeah.
I think I'll hit it. I know I'm going to hit them because I can already close my eyes, Ralph, and see myself there.
Yeah.
So anytime I want to, I can hold that in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it just helps motivate me, and it helps me decide. It helps me with decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me with my day-to-day activities, so that I make certain they're constantly moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I did this before I moved to Florida from Kansas. I grew up in Kansas, and when things got really good, I decided, I ought to try living somewhere else. And it was so cool. I used to sit in my house at night before going to bed or whatever, and I would envision the house I would be in on a nice little canal connected to the Gulf with my boat hooked to the dock. I could see the pool, and it was all a nice screened big area where I could sit and write in the beautiful weather of Florida with my boat out there and enjoy all that Florida offers anytime I want. And when we started looking for houses, and first of all, I have to tell you, I moved down here with, it was a great expense. I moved my whole company. It took a lot of
I remember
effort.
when you did that.
It set me behind.
Yeah.
So it created obstacles along the way. But when we were looking for houses, as we walked in them, I looked around and I knew which ones weren't them.
Mm-hmm.
And the one I bought was the one that when I walked out in that screened cage area around the pool,
mm-hmm.
and it was on a canal,
yeah.
I just looked, and except for the boat hooked to the dock, I said, this is it.
Isn't that amazing?
And now I'm in it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And I now know the boat I want. I haven't got the boat yet. That
mm-hmm.
happened soon. That happened in September. I haven't got the boat yet because I haven't found the one that I've pictured.
Yeah, well, isn't that amazing? Well, I'm sure that it'll be showing up pretty soon.
Yes, it will. I feel it.
Well, it sounds like you've had a few setbacks and misfortunes and made a few mistakes on your life path. How important is it to take a positive view of those?
Oh, it's vital. It's vital because setbacks and misfortunes and mistakes aren't really setbacks, misfortunes, or mistakes if you look at them the right way. And a positive view helps that. Sometimes it's hard to have that positive view immediately, and I even allow myself to get a little emotional
mm-hmm.
and then let it cool down because you can't just ignore them.
Yeah.
And there usually is emotion involved when it's a misfortune
sure.
or a setback.
Yeah, that's the truth.
But always I start digging into the problem, and what I try to determine is the cause,
mm-hmm.
because with that cause comes, if not a solution, a lesson. And I've learned long ago to recognize what I can't fix. If it's in the
mm-hmm.
past and there's nothing you can do to change it,
yeah.
you got to move on.
Yeah.
But if you can look back and find the lesson, then you still benefit from what you can't fix.
Boy, that's a wise statement, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's really served me well.
Mm-hmm. Well, with all this,
and I got to tell you, Ralph, as successful as my career is, as happy as my life is right now, there's still misfortunes and setbacks and
mm-hmm.
mistakes. But I don't worry about them. I just study them for the lesson I can learn and keep moving, because I got to tell you, at 52, I'm still learning. I don't know about you.
Yep, me too.
I know
55.
You are.
I'm learning every day, especially
every
taking
minute
care of
if
my
I can.
mom and dad.
That's what keeps life fun, isn't it?
Well, it keeps it challenging, that's for sure. And
yes.
You have to choose to make sure that it is fun by changing your attitude. Well, you know, I think that being an optimist is important. What do you feel about being an optimist?
I'm optimistic to the point of I've actually been criticized for being what's the word they used? Optimistic to the point of fault.
Wow.
And you know what? That's almost laughable, because I can see no fault in optimism.
You must have
It's
been
what
talking
makes
to
the world go
people.
round. It's why I get up in the morning, Ralph.
Yeah, me too. Well, you got to have a positive attitude, or else you just can't do it.
No. How could you watch CNN for 10 minutes without a positive attitude and still leave your home?
Boy, isn't that the truth? Well, I know that a lot of stuff that you've done, you've had ups and downs, and you've challenged everybody to pursue new ideas. I know that a lot of the different projects, you just created them out of thin air. How much courage does it take to pursue new ideas?
Well, you know, that's a good question. If I didn't create new ideas, I would stagnate, and I don't ever want to stagnate. So I'm always constantly looking for what's next and setting seeds into the fertile ground that will make them grow, so to speak. So I don't even look at it anymore as a matter of courage so much as need or requirement of my life. It's almost like food. I like to look at ideas like crops. And if you think about it that way, a farmer wouldn't refuse to plant his or her next crop because it might not come up, or the weather might be unfavorable and make it come up poorly, or it might be some work now and the seedlings won't be up for several days. And it'll be months till I can take in the crop. You move ahead and keep planting.
Yeah.
And the other lesson we get from the farmer, if we're going to stick with this analogy for a minute, you also don't get a crop from a single seed. It's just not going to happen, at least not for years.
Yeah.
So I like generating lots of ideas because I think of them as seeds. And I pursue the best of them, and several at a time if I can.
Well, in the pursuit of your dream, I know with the new ideas that's a part of your dream, I know there's discomfort, especially the people that you come in contact with, and your family and friends that don't really have the same dream as you, and it is uncomfortable to actually go someplace that nobody else has gone. How important is it to be able to be willing to experience that discomfort in the pursuit of your dream?
Again, it's vital. I've found that most dreams to be realized require some discomfort. Otherwise, you know, if they're that easy, they don't really qualify as dreams in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
But I think, Ralph, this is why explains maybe why so many people constantly fail to reach their dreams. They are afraid of being made uncomfortable, of moving outside of their comfort zone. And I've noticed that those who do succeed always seem to realize at some point that the discomfort's just a required, necessary, and good part of reaching those dreams.
Boy, isn't that true? Well, how important do you believe that believing in your dreams is that they'll actually become reality?
I believe in it because I see them in my mind, and as I said before, I'm a strong believer in visualization, which I consider vivid dreaming. Yeah. And I have to tell you, Ralph, when I look back, I've never properly visualized a goal or a dream that didn't happen. It's almost magical. It's why I think it's a crime to discourage kids from daydreaming. Yeah. I remember back when I was in school and a little kid, I used to get in trouble for daydreaming all the time until I grew up and realized that's how you make dreams real.
You know, isn't that true? And when we're trying to achieve the dreams that we have or fulfill them, there's always those doubts and fears that come from ourselves and from our own minds and just from society. It seems that society, and especially the press, is always trying to create fears in our own minds. How do you overcome your doubts and fears?
For the most part, I just ignore them. Now that may sound like, what's that? Some people would use the term denial. But see, I realize that doubts and fears are negative.
Yeah.
And negative energy holds you back. So I erase them, and sometimes I use my vivid visualization and actually visualize the negative thoughts of doubt and fear. And this is a trick you could try, listening. And I see myself rubbing those doubts and fears off of a mental chalkboard with a big eraser.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mind's freed up to move on.
Wow, that's a good imagery.
It works.
Yeah,
at least for me.
Mm-hmm. I think that would probably help a lot of people, just erasing the negative doubts and fears that show up on their mental screen. And I know that it takes a lot of willpower to change things in your life for the better. Was there anyone that gave you the willpower that helped you overcome a lot of the difficulties in your life?
Well, my friends, and especially my close working friends and my peers, and one in particular I mentioned earlier, but
mm-hmm.
also I think my mother,
mm-hmm.
all through my life. I mean, we had our battles when I was a teenager, and I wanted to have a Beatle haircut, and she hated it. And the funny thing is, and we go through those today, you know, with our own kids, but the funny thing is, she hated it. She constantly, and this is just a great example, she hated my long hair. And I used to have hair clear down my back, believe it or not. Most people would not believe that, seeing my balding photos today, but I used to have the ponytail and went clear down almost to my waist. And she used to just rag at me constantly to cut that hair. You need to cut, you won't get ahead without cutting that hair. Wish I could see my boy again, you know, comments like that. And yet, when I went to school and got trouble from a principal over my hair, she was the first one in the office screaming at him that it's my right to have this hair. What harm is it doing? Mm-hmm. Why don't you just leave me alone and teach me?
Wow, that's amazing.
Just the ability, just her willingness to stand up again for my right to be me, just created such a respect. And I think I just picture that, and I just have to live a life for the better and pay her back. Yeah,
well, she obviously was one of the heroes in your life. Were there any other ones?
Other heroes in my life?
Yeah.
You know, my dad, my parents are my two biggest heroes.
Really?
And my dad, God bless him, he was, I mean, this guy chose a path of least resistance in his job and career, but one he enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And I say least resistance in that he was qualified to be an architect and do the high-powered life and get a lot of big money. Mm-hmm. He went instead for being a city employee and being the city building inspector. Now he worked through that, got up to the top spot, but the top spot paid, you know, chump change. But still, to do what he enjoyed, he would work nights running the theaters, running the projectors at the local theaters, and bringing that money home just to make sure we never did without anything because of his dreams.
Wow.
Because of his will. I see that in him, you know, it's dreaming with responsibility. It's following your muse without dumping your responsibilities. And far too many people I see today follow their muse at the peril of everyone in their path. Yeah. You can't do that. And so that was another one of my big heroes. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's amazing. My sister's a building inspector.
Oh, really? Well, it's a great job. I mean, he loved it, and he had respect of the city. He did a good job that was much needed. And he told me it was so cool because he could come home for lunch and actually take a nap afterwards because there was no set time he had to be back.
Well, did he do that so he could spend more time with you?
A little, yeah, especially when I was not in school all day. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was younger, I can remember him being home for lunch, and he'd play with us for a while, and then Daddy's going to take a nap now, okay? Okay. Yeah.
Well, you know, as we go through life, there's things that give us strength, and what place does the power of prayer have in your life?
It has a constant place in my life, Ralph. And people who know me will know that I am not an overly religious guy. I don't run around telling other people how they should believe. Mm-hmm. Because I also believe so strongly in the right of religious freedom that I believe forcing my ideas on someone else is just uncalled for. But you asked, so I will answer. Okay. I pray constantly, but I pray a little differently than some people do, I think. And here's my thoughts on it. I even wrote down a little something here, because this was such a cool question. I don't think it matters who or what you pray to. I don't think it's a matter of that at all. It's the fact that you do pray, and the act of praying. By doing that, you recognize that there's something much larger than all of us involved here.
Mm-hmm.
That all of this world, and all of us didn't just appear by chance.
Yeah. That
there's a bigger plan, and you're just one small cog in this huge machine, and believe it or not, a replaceable cog at that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, by that act of praying, what I do is I tell people to stop, if anybody asks, stop praying for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stop making requests of the universe.
Yeah.
And I get tired of that sometimes, and I have to tell you, since you asked,
yep.
I would not tell someone to stop that if they didn't ask.
Uh-huh.
But I see that so much.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like, please give me a new car. Please help me with this. Please do this.
Yeah.
Here's what I do, and this is where my visualization ties in with my praying.
Mm-hmm.
I picture the things I want already taking place. I mean, that's what I do with my visualization.
Yep.
So then I say prayers of thanks for everything wonderful I already have.
Wow.
And everything wonderful I know I'm going to have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly thanking God. And you can constantly thank the universe. And I really think doing this literally sets you up and puts you in a harmonious vibration with God or the universe or whatever you wish to call it, and makes you ready to receive the huge bounty that's out there for everyone who's willing and ready to receive it.
So you think gratitude is important?
Gratitude is oh yes. I think prayers of thanks are the prayers that are heard.
Mm-hmm. You know, I believe that's true, and I think the other thing, especially in times of difficulty, and everybody has difficult problems in their lives, how important is a sense of humor?
Oh, I'm telling you, without it, I wouldn't be alive today. And I say that in sincerity. I've been through some things that we're not even touching on here, that without my sense of humor, which some people have referred to as being a little bit sick and twisted at times.
Yeah.
But without it, it might have driven me mad.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I might have, or actually driven me to end my life.
Sure.
But instead, I've always been able to see the funny side of life, and even of the terrible situation I'm in. And I mean, I've been found to be chuckling at some of the most inappropriate times as a result. That's the price I pay, and I'm happy to, because I really believe there's always plenty to laugh about when it comes to life and the universe.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
And it's great medicine.
Boy, it sure is. I love hyperbole, where you're just taking things that are happening and taking them to such absurd levels that it's just so bizarre you can't help but laugh.
Oh yeah.
I think
it's endless. I mean, a comedian's job is never going away.
Yeah, boy, isn't that the truth? Well, you know, who are the heroes that are in your life other than your mom and dad and your friends? Do you think there's any other heroes that deserve recognition?
Oh, you mentioned some, and I'll mention them again, because I really believe they are under-mentioned, and that's the police, fire rescue, medevac people, of course, soldiers that are fighting for a true cause, teachers. Yeah. Teachers are huge heroes of mine, because, again, these are people who follow their dream, even though the dream is not going to fill their plate like most people deserve, like they deserve. Yeah, yeah. I think that whole list right there is probably the most underpaid, most valuable workers we have. Well, isn't that the truth? And writers and philosophers are also heroes in my life. They make me think. Yeah, mine too. But they're doing what they love to do in spite of the low pay and risk. And that goes for my closest friends and family members too, because I don't pay any of them very well either. You don't? Not financially. And hanging around me might even be perceived as being dangerous at times. But still, they're always there when I need them. You know. Yeah. So they go right down. That's why they're down there on my high list of heroes. Yeah. Boy, I imagine so. Well, why are heroes so important in the lives of young people? Well, that's because a true hero is a positive role model, someone you look up to and want to be like. Yeah. And especially during the formative years, which heroes a young person selects and what values they embody can literally shape their life forever.
Boy, that's so true. You know, how do people become heroes?
I think it's doing good for others without being asked, without worrying about possible negative consequences themselves, or without any hope or thought of personal reward.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the short one-sentence description.
Yeah, doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Exactly. I couldn't say that one because it was already done, you know.
Yeah. Well, do you have any good solutions to the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
Oh, I'm so glad you yanked this chain. And I hope you've got a second, because this is one of my favorite topics when I'm not discussing marketing. Yes, absolutely. One of them is turn off the TV, especially the movie channels.
Mm-hmm.
Watch what your kids watch, and follow the movie rating system for some kind of guideline, but realize R is not always R. PG is not always mean what you think PG should mean.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to monitor it yourself. If you don't have the time, don't let them watch it at all. I'll tell you right now, guys, it won't hurt them a bit. And the same thing goes for the music they listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Things have changed in music. I mean, my parents griped about my music, but
yeah.
Music today, there's a whole attitudinal message that just has to be watched, and it's unbelievable.
Well, do you think that it creates racism and child and spousal abuse and violence among young people?
I think we've seen a dangerous trend in movies, and especially in the music our kids listen to today, that creates a mindset, an attitude of get one over on society.
Really?
Get one over on the cops. Hate and racism is there.
Yeah.
And I think these things lead to other things that are particularly terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But to go on, I was going to say freedom of the press and freedom to listen. I hear this argued all the time. And this is true. Freedom to listen to and watch what you want.
Yeah.
And freedom of the press. I told you earlier, I'll fight to the death for that.
Yeah.
And I still agree with that. But I believe those are adult rights.
Yeah, not kid rights?
Not kid rights. And I really believe a lot of parents forget that, and they're treating their kids like little adults way too early because, quite frankly, it's easier for them.
Yeah.
And they fail to see what harm can be done to kids who watch the wrong movies and listen to the wrong music. I don't know about you, Ralph, but some of my heroes in my own mind when I grew up were the guys I saw in the movies.
Yeah, me too.
And the movies I watched, I'm not a I'm not a fan of some of the guys that did the acting, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
But the person they played was they were always bad. It was always good battling evil.
Yeah, isn't that true?
And today I'm watching movies where the good guy is, and I swear this is true. I saw it a while back in the description on the movie channel.
Mm-hmm.
It said it's a story about a lovable hitman.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Here's my point. As adults, you and I with a formed mind, and we've done making ourselves.
Yeah.
We're adults. We can watch that and say that's just a movie.
Yeah.
What harm could be done to a kid at 13 or 12 who's in that formative age?
Yeah. Who
suddenly discovers, wow, being a hitman can be kind of lovable.
Mm-hmm.
And makes that his hero.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people kind of get their shackles up and they're going, oh, what are you, a prude? And I'm not talking about sex here.
Yeah.
That's the least of my worries, although there's a lot of that stuff that's bad. Good sex is good for kids at 8, if they understand it and it's real.
Yeah.
I'm talking about attitudes and about the heroes they pick up from what they watch and listen to.
Yeah.
The other side of that is make them read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have to help them select what they read because there's some bad stuff out there. But frankly, Ralph, I'd rather have my kid accidentally read the wrong book than watch the wrong movie or listen to the wrong music.
Boy, I think that's true.
Because at least a book is reading, and reading's a skill you must have to succeed in the world.
Boy, that is so true. What do you think about the In Search of Heroes program and its impact on youth, parents, and business people?
It's immeasurable. It's a good beyond measure. I think more people need the message, and more people need to meet the real heroes and recognize the real people with values that matter and that can change the world. That's what makes this program so immeasurably valuable.
Yeah, well, the whole goal was to get kids to realize that it's the moms and dads, the coaches, the teachers, the people that are taking time to get to know them.
Yeah.
And help guide them.
We're not out here. We're not pushing you around. That's so funny. I hear that all the you just like to push those kids around. Well, not really. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the fact that I have been there.
Yeah. How important do you think discipline is in the lives of kids?
I think it's so important that I think probably 90% of parents today don't give it enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're too much of a pushover for their kids, and I'm not talking physical discipline.
Yeah.
They don't even follow through on the, I see it all the time. You're grounded for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And a week later, oh, Mom, there's a dance.
Yeah.
I've just got to go. Or, you know what, we're going out tonight. We got some friends over that invited us over. You stay home, and then they go out anyway.
Do you think that's a real problem with parents wanting to be their kids' buddies and their co-equals?
The last thing a kid needs is a parent that's a buddy. It's just, buddies are great. They need buddies, but they don't need their parents to be their buddies. They need a strong differentiation there. And there's a big difference between a parent who can relate on the kid's level. You have to do that. But you don't have to sell yourself short to the point of, oh, okay, drink beer at home at 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and there's parents doing that, because I'd rather have them drink beer at home than out. Well, how about the message that you just don't?
Yeah. Yeah, boy, isn't that true? Well, what are the things that parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive difference in the lives of others?
Always encourage their dreams. Boy, that comes from my own childhood, huh?
Boy,
I used to get yelled at about daydreaming all the time. I want to help them. They should help them see success, reaching their dreams, and then help them formulate the necessary steps to realizing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one of the last things most kids think about if you just turn them loose is what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this is the cause, I think, of probably one of the number one causes of the big mistakes and bad decisions so many kids make is they don't really see that there's a tomorrow. They don't care.
Yeah.
Or a consequence, or something I should be doing that would be much better for my future.
Mm-hmm.
So helping them realize a tomorrow by setting a plan and working with them on it and getting them excited about a future, you'll see all kinds of amazing things happen. And also, always encourage that they see the inner benefit of helping others without concern for the reward they'll receive in return.
Boy, isn't that true?
If you can instill those in your kids, the positive impact on others will be tremendous throughout their entire lives. You'll be affecting future generations.
Boy, that's so profound. Well, Alan, I really appreciate you taking your valuable time to answer these heroes' questions. Do you have any parting comments that you'd like to make?
I just think, Ralph, I think I'm being interviewed by the real hero here. The guy who I've seen you unselfishly put yourself on the line any number of times for this program. You've gone through your own ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I've seen you overcome them all. And you know what's really beautiful?
What's that?
This project has never really faltered as a result.
Yeah, well, it has a life of its own with people like you and Bob Silber and just some of the other people that just continue to encourage me and are willing to take your valuable time to help make it a reality. I really appreciate you and just some of the other people that I've met that are helping out.
It was time very well spent.
Well, thank you so much. I really just appreciate you as a person.
You too.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.